Hi, welcome to Highly Detailed News. Happy holidays to everyone out there. We're going to take a few questions and roll out a joint, and I hope you guys enjoy the day with us.
Happy 420.
Yeah, go ahead and get us started.
All right. So we've got some questions here. What is the difference between legal weed and decriminalization places?
That's a great question. Legal means for most places that it usually has recreational laws passed, where there's some sort of age limit, usually 21, that allows anybody over that age to purchase and use recreationally. Decriminalized is different from that, as well as medical. Decriminalized means that there's been a law passed, usually saying that they don't want to spend resources or anything like that on the actual prosecution, arrest, any of the wasted efforts that could be done better place else. Did I cover that?
Yeah. We got some messages. Hi, everybody tuning in.
Hello, thank you guys.
What muscle cream should I be using if I don't want to get high?
Kind of a loaded question there, but you should always make sure that you're not doing anything transdermal. Typically is the easiest place to start. There's always trace elements usually with all of them. However, CBD is always another great way to make sure that you're not getting the psychoactive components. If you're looking to avoid drug tests and some of those other things, you would want to avoid specific ingredients a little bit differently. But it just kind of depends on specifically why that don't want to get high is there. If you're not looking to get high at all, most pain creams aren't going to really do it anyway. Even if they are transdermal, they could be more effective. So it just kind of depends on what you mean by that. But most topicals, as long as you're not applying them, on your face and things like that, you shouldn't even appear high. So hopefully there's not any problem there.
Can smoking weed change your hormones? Is it a question we just got on Instagram Live from Alex?
Awesome. There is potential there. There's been some studies that have suggested that it also just kind of depends. Unfortunately, most of the studies are based off of self-reporting, so there is some dietary issues potentially that correlate to being able to consume things a little bit better, but there's not really ever been a specific study, as far as I know, that digs into direct hormone control from cannabis. I would think that just from its chemical makeup, probably not, but there is probably some correlative benefits that may show some hormonal changes in the body. But I would think that would technically probably not be a direct cause of it. But yeah, it's a good question. Hopefully we actually get an answer soon.
What weed are you smoking during quarantine?
We don't have any good sativas, unfortunately, so we're not. We did get some good Godfather OG and some Gorilla Wookiees that is outstanding. That's been our two favorites, I think.
If anyone has questions, feel free to submit them. We're just here while we're rolling a joint, so it'll be pretty quick. Another question we have already is, I keep reading that we are at higher risk as smokers. Anything I can do for coronavirus?
No, that's... Unfortunately, we are burning carbon into our lungs, so there is going to be some risk that comes from doing that. Again, we don't have any real studies because the rules and regulations are so different depending on where you are, that you're going to have a lot of different people's opinions that weigh in on that. Unfortunately, probably so. We are a little bit more at risk, but it does seem to be that tobacco smoking is way worse.
Cosmo wants to say hi to everybody. We've got another question on here. What is the best stuff to use for migraines and neck pain? I guess go into topicals and...
Topicals again are a good place to start if it's neck-based tension, depending on specifically what is causing the migraine. There is some issues with dehydration from cannabis, so it actually, depending if it's what is causing it, it may not be what you're after. CBD can again show some people that like relax if it's tension based and some of those things build up. Yeah, I say again, you're typically looking for more purple relaxing based strains if it's nighttime, more pain relief. But if high in limonene, high things like that, but any sort of tension would be a little bit different.
We have a follow-up question first, real quick. One sec. Back to the being at risk as smokers for coronavirus, is the risk from sharing doobies.
Yes, there is some saliva transfer, so you obviously shouldn't be doing that. But again, I'm not a biologist, but I would assume that if I'm going to spread it by coughing on someone, if you're sharing spit from a joint, as you can watch as I lick it here, there's going to be some transfer. But again, there hasn't been enough studies that are really showing if heat burns enough well. So if you think like burning the end of your pipe before you pass it would do it, probably not at this point. It's safe to assume that you can't successfully and quickly clean something in between a pass for a session. You should still be self-quarantining, and you should still be treating this as seriously as it is. So it would be nice if that was the case, but I don't personally believe so, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, what is the difference between Cbd types based on what it's derived from? For example, Cbd derived from hemp.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, depending on which company you're getting the CBD-based products from, sometimes it is going to be hemp seed oil. Sometimes it is going to be actual hemp plant that's been rendered into different oils and compounds that they combine with different oils. So there, unfortunately, is a lot of snake oils in the CBD market specifically that you have to be wary of, especially now that there is federal transfer on it as well. When you go to a legal shop or a medical dispensary that is selling CBD product from a more medical grown place, or those of us lucky on the coast in Colorado and places like that can usually find specific strains of CBD, be it Charlotte's Web or jellyfish or something that is treating a very specific need when you want the CBD. And then there's a whole range of products based on those specific strains as well, and they usually have different cannabinoid profiles to them. So depending on the brand, depending on the grower, you're going to have a little bit of a different effect. In general, CBD is mostly used decompressively from what I've seen, so you are going to see some good companies from the CBD side that's federally legal, but it is a little bit fewer and far between for sure. Did I get that far?
Yeah, and Richie's on there too. Hi,
Hello.
cousin. Before we get to the next question on here, to add on or touch with what you just said, can you go over the difference between buying CBD at some random drugstore and buying it at a medical dispensary?
Yeah. Okay, so CVS, all of the pharmacies and those things do have usually the hemp-based CBD that is federally legal. There may be a few exemptions for manufacturing purposes depending on the state, but most of the time they're all doing nation-to-nation shipping, so you're going to be limited to the federally allowed small dose THC hemp that's produced on an industrial level. Quit wasting that. When you go to a store that's an actual dispensary, they're going to be typically selling products that are registered either through that system in the recreational system or through the medical system of the state that you're in. When you go to buy those products, they should have all the forms available that give the cannabinoid breakdown, and so you can start seeing specific benefits from specific cannabinoids. If you're after just like a decompressive hemp-based product, or even some people do smoke hemp as a tobacco substitute specifically, and so there is an availability of some very clean or organic exceeding hemp-based cigarette products, or even topical products, but it really just depends on what you're looking at. Typically the stuff you get from a medical shop or a dispensary is going to be far more effective there are some decent products that try, but the percentages and the combination of subcannabinoids that you get from specifically grown plants to treat pain is a way more beneficial end result typically than the general industrial hemp-based byproducts that are kind of being pushed on the CBD market. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Does CBD help with anxiety on animals?
It can. Again, I would say it depends on the animal. There has been a very big trend in animal products over the last few years as we've switched to a legal market. I personally haven't had an animal that uses it that directly. We have tried it for some stomach issues and things for one of our unfortunate animals, but specifically from kind of a anti-anxiety from the fireworks side of things, I do see that it's incredibly popular during those times of year. So there probably does seem to be some benefit to it. But again, I would always have to talk to your veterinarian before you do anything like that, because they could be on things like opiates or any of that otherwise would be intensified. So you really, really, really don't want to be counteracting something beneficial that your veterinarian is trying to do for your animal already. That would not be good. So it is a popular thing, but you should definitely ask before. So.
Well, I think that's all we have on here. So we can just ask to join a few times.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody have any more quick questions before we get off of here and enjoy the rest of the holiday?
Oh. Are you guys going to make a tutorial on how to make edibles?
We may eventually. I should say, there are lots of different ways to make edibles, and so a general tutorial might be hard to do because it really depends if you're doing chocolate or baked goods or what specifically you're trying to do, which infusion is best for what you're going to do. We could probably look into doing some basic things. We've tried a couple more of the simple ways. I did start in edibles originally, so we can do industrial side edibles for sure, but I don't think most people at home would have access to a lot of those tools. And so if we do find some effective home means, I think we definitely would share those. But we'll see. If there's a want, we'll definitely look into it. So I won't say no.
Our no-bake cookies are pretty tasty. If you saw that, our post. Oh. What did we make the other day? We made
the no-bake
cookies.
Yeah.
It was chocolate, peanut butter, oatmeal, and like milk and sugar and stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Mom. Teaching me how to make no-bake cookies. They're very easy, very lazy. So.
My first no-bake cookie was pretty good.
Yeah. She thought we were crazy that it was that easy, but it really is. So that's. There's a dozen other recipes for that for sure, but they're very, very easy.
Where are my pants from? Thanks, Alex. I think I got them at Buffalo Exchange a couple years ago, so who knows?
Yeah.
It's for those that don't know, it's like a secondhand store, thrift store. Tie-dye, anything tie-dye we love.
But yeah.
Did you just add keef, says Richie?
Yeah, it was keef and some bubble bag hash, actually. And so we went ahead and did a little bit of both.
Alyssa's laughing. We're also drinking some Absolute Extracts, cannabis infused.
Hi-Fi hops.
Hops.
It's, yeah.
How about the hat? Where did you get the hat?
My mom, again. My mom gets 2 shout-outs. Great job, Mom. Yeah, I've had this for a few years now.
Looks good.
Thank you.
I hope that some of you are smoking with us, even though at different time zones it may not be 4:20 there. But it's the whole day, the whole month.
That's what I say. It's 4:20 somewhere for sure today. So.
I want your mom, Richie. She is pretty cool.
She is pretty cool. Yeah. We'll have to do a family trip and get everybody gathered at some point. She would love that too. So.
I like the bowl in the middle of your table. Did we get that with Alyssa? Yeah, in Maine. We got that in Maine with you.
That's right.
Mine's kind of mean. Shout out to Aunt Sharon. Smoked in the woods today with Bryson and Baker. Yeah, Alyssa.
Yeah, that is one thing that we're looking at is safe social distancing hikes to potentially, kind of do and take and see. So we're trying to look at different options around here that don't go through major choke points for trying to do stuff. So we'll see how it goes. We're lucky enough to have some parks and things close to us, so we're not too nature deprived right now, thankfully.
Yeah. Alex wants to know what inspired you to make these videos.
Wow, heavy questions. First we go with pants and this. There's a lot of misinformation. I think, unfortunately, we went from a thing where being illegal, you have to keep to yourself for so long, and you really weren't allowed to. The internet has allowed us to kind of reach out and share, and as we've made laws and passed those things, people are becoming more and more comfortable asking questions, and I find the information in the world is not necessarily wrong, but unsupported is a good way to put it, or definitely certainly not researched. And so there is some progress that we've made as we try to kind of lay into these things, and we try not to smoke joints very often, usually use some sort of water filter because of the carbon. There are things you can try and do to be healthier about your habits for sure. And so for people who have benefit for this over that, we wanted to have an avenue for safe, educated conversations that are informative and also very constructive. So hopefully we are learning just as much by bringing this stuff to you as you are learning from us giving it to you, because there's a lot of different ways to sort out different people's opinions, and there's not a lot of wrong ones, but I think that it's definitely more educated ones than others, unfortunately. So we do have to kind of smile and participate and really look at how we can bring science-backed studies to what we're doing and resolve a lot of these problems together. So we'll see. Lofty goals.
Definitely try to share more of the scientific research studies so that it is not biased too, because obviously we want to end the stigma of oversmoking, but so that's why we try to keep it scientific, so it doesn't seem that way. Less opinion.
But yeah. Any other questions before we get off here, guys? We appreciate it. We're going to go eat some edibles and hang out.
So Rich said, I've had multiple doctors suggest cannabis for chronic pain, but when you ask legit health professionals to prescribe it, no, they say no.
From how I'm understanding at the licensing level and at the insurance level right now, you still have your malpractice insurance being issued through national levels, or participating in a national level for whether it's your hospital board or whatever these things are. There's a lot of hesitation to do it. Luckily, we live in Los Angeles. I have met some really good doctors that do prescribe it, and they recognize that their career isn't built on those things, or they're not worried about losing a job because of those things. So there is a little bit of a disconnect, unfortunately, between the national level and the state level, and I think until we get some parity between those two, we won't be able to have a real answer. But hopefully soon. Depending on where you live, you're going to have issue. They have shown that chronic pain is really good in helping reduce the amount of opiates you have to use, but once you actually start doing surgery, there actually isn't as effective. Opiates as well aren't as effective once you start doing tissue damage and some of those things on a surgical level, and cannabis kind of actually loses its benefit in a lot of those patients as well. So we have a long way to go scientifically before we can have real answers, but I can see the pros and cons depending on individually what you're actually after. And so it's going to take a while before we even have enough of an educated consensus for doctors to feel comfortable. So
yeah, his response was, even though I know it works, I quit opiates 4 years ago and almost died from withdrawal, and they still prescribe me opioids.
Yeah, and it's in,
and cannabis works.
I personally understand the antispasmoidals and things are just, they do incredible damage to your digestive, and there's such compounding issues that go off of having to take a pain medication. So unfortunately, there's not a large consensus for sharing information between doctors. There's not a large incentive, it seems like, to do any of that until we get a actual protections, federal law in line with most state opinion. There is going to be a lot of disconnect, and our healthcare outcomes are going to continue to be poor. I don't see a lot of that improving without major change, unfortunately. And so it is going to be a headache for a very long time. So hopefully less and less for you, but I am sorry, it doesn't seem that way. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you think they're greedy or just pressured to prescribe the opioids?
I can't say personally. There does seem to be people that have taken advantage of that situation for sure at lots of levels. If you're given only one tool in the toolbox, why are we surprised that it's used? I don't understand that level of it on the disconnect, because it does seem now like most people, if they need opioids, do have a higher restriction to them. But now we're facing street-level opioid crises that are absolutely astronomical. So I don't know. I hate to make blanket judgment, but it does seem to be a lot of greed, and it does seem to be a lot of lack of information. So. Well, I think we're going to say great afternoon to the rest of you guys and go and enjoy the days. But you guys stay safe, and we appreciate all of you joining us. It's been incredible. So thank you again.
Thanks. Woo.